For the past 3 years almost, Israel's constant defense against atrocities committed in Gaza and the West Bank has been that Palestinians, Hamas, use human shields. Well, has anybody ever stopped to question Israel that, wait a minute, there are multiple reports of Israel, the IDF to be more specific, using Palestinian civilians as human shields? No.
Almost every soldier in the IDF learned about the fact that we used Palestinians as human shield during the Second Intifada. Back then we called it the Neighbour Procedure. When you come to arrest a high-ranking Palestinian or you know that he's armed, so you grab the next door neighbor and you told the neighbor, you knock on the door, not me. And maybe he will get shot. And if nobody shot him, then we told them, get inside the house, open all of the doors and open all of the lights. So we will be more safe.
Nobody's asked that. And even when it's reported by big corporations, it's sort of buried under noise because this is not something they want shown. It's like Bassem Youssef said, whenever Israel says something that you did this, just automatically assume that they're the ones who are doing this. They're just gaslighting you. That's Bassem's opinion. But honestly, it seems relevant here, in particular towards the human shields argument, because they have not screamed so loud about anything but the human shields argument. Whenever interviewed by multiple news corporations or by big names like Piers Morgan, whenever the atrocities and the argument gets too heated, especially now because it's been so long and even the most pro-Israel people are like, you know what, this looks genocidal. They just immediately say, listen, we can't do anything. Hamas uses human shields. This is not the case in Lebanon. This is not the case in Iran. But Gaza, my God, we can't do anything about it because Hamas uses human shields. Why do these journalists not stop? Forget even showing them reports which are well documented by even Israeli soldiers. Just ask the question. Listen, have you ever used human shields? No, they have never asked that. So we're going to show you all the evidence so you can make up your own mind and stop letting mainstream media confuse you and surround you with chaotic noise. I'm Fatma Zabur, and welcome to Far Media. Under international humanitarian law, the use of human shields is strictly prohibited. Doesn't matter whether you're Hamas or the most moral army in the world. But many IDF soldiers have come out and said that this protocol is so common in the IDF now that it even has a name. It's called the Mosquito Protocol. We're going to get into the depravity of why this particular name. But for now, focusing on a piece written in the Haaretz newspaper, the Israeli newspaper, called A History of People in the Line of Fire. This piece highlights how many Israeli soldiers, perhaps the ones with a conscience, have come out and said that they use this particular protocol at least 6 times in one day. So imagine 6 times in one day, an Israeli soldier or 4 or 5 of them use a Palestinian civilian as a human shield. It's that common. Now we're going to get into what they actually do to those human shields. Now, first-hand accounts and whistleblowers. Ayman Abu Hamadan, a 36-year-old Palestinian civilian, was taken by the IDF. He was held for 2 weeks, and he was put in, let's say, military fatigues, so he blends in the IDF. A camera was strapped onto him, whether to his somewhere here or on his forehead, and he was sent into Palestinian homes. I'm thinking the evidence he needs more towards the West Bank here and partly in Gaza as well, but not exactly sure the exact location, but the West Bank and or Gaza. Sent into those homes to check for booby traps, and that if there are booby traps or if there are any explosives, in particularly in Gaza, that this man would be sacrificed and we, the IDF, would suffer no consequences. And since he has a camera as well, we can see what's in the home and kind of understand what's happening. But we're going to use a Palestinian civilian not even a militant, which also, by the way, would still be illegal because human shields is just not something that is legal under any circumstances, but particularly for civilians. So we're going to use him, send him into homes because we're too cowardly to do our job. One officer told Haaretz. Now, Haaretz, again, this is being told to the Associated Press and Haaretz. The Israeli newspaper reported this. This particular practice is so common that every platoon has a couple Palestinian civilians as human shields. Just, on back end. Now let's talk about breaking the silence. This is not a phrase. It's an Israeli veterans group, a movement that is literally the name. They're breaking their silence. It's certain Israeli soldiers who have a conscience, who have come out with testimonies, some anonymously, out of fear, of course, which is understandable to a certain extent. I understand. But some outright with their face, go on national television, on places like Democracy Now!, an independent news channel, some even on BBC, CNN. But what they do is they remind us that even in the pits of darkness in Israel, there are still human beings with a conscience. These Israeli soldiers who were so brainwashed to act a certain way, act no less than terrorists they condemn, came out of the darkness and said, this is just too much. We have to speak up against this insanity, against this dehumanization of Palestinians. This was shown on Al Jazeera, on CNN. Jeremy Diamond covered this, and even CBS, the more pro-Israel channel, in my opinion. One of these soldiers from Breaking the Silence told CNN that his unit had 2 Palestinian civilians on standby who were basically acting like the slaves of the IDF, that they would send them into buildings in Gaza and even in homes in the West Bank to just check for booby traps and check if there are any people, and if not, record what is happening, go inside, open the windows, open the curtains, turn on all the lights so the IDF can then see what's happening and help them do their job. So in 2005, Israel's own Supreme Court ruled that this particular behavior for human shields is absolutely illegal. Before they ruled that, though, they had another sort of similar but named differently procedure. It was called the Neighbour Protocol or the Neighbour something, but where the IDF would essentially kidnap a Palestinian civilian to spy on their neighbor physically, to send them in their homes and as a human shield. And like I said, go open, turn on all the lights, report everything that is happening, and then tell us what's happening. And if you get killed, not our problem, at least we are fine. In some instances, they even replace IDF dogs with Palestinian civilians. Now, what does that tell you? That says that a Palestinian's life to an Israeli is worth less than an IDF dog. Let that insane dehumanization sink in. Human rights groups like Israel's own B'Tselem, Amnesty International, and many others have reported that even after 2005, this practice continued. And since the Gaza war, since the Gaza genocide, this practice of the Mosquito Protocol has been on crack. And even this name now, the Mosquito Protocol, essentially just says the Palestinians to the Israeli soldiers, the ones at least without any conscience, are like mosquitoes. Just kill as many flies as you want. It doesn't matter. This also shows in the way that they distribute them aid through the GHFs, even though that's a completely different discussion. I don't want to go on that tangent. But like the Hunger Games, throw food and then shoot them. See who survives. What bothers me the most about this is that IDF soldiers have become so sure that there will be no accountability whatsoever, that they will actually record these atrocities and post them on their social media, have no care in the world Because where the world thinks that, oh, the US might step in and Trump can stop Netanyahu from doing whatever he wants, they're absolutely wrong. Because the United States is not the United States of America. It is the United States of Israel, where the world is fooled to believe that US has any power over Israel. It is actually Israel who has all the power over US. This is also further proven in our previous episode of Decoded, where we show just this little glimmer of what Jeffrey Epstein and Robert Maxwell and different Mossad agents had concocted to do to US politicians. And mind you, that is just one alleged spy. Imagine the whole racket of blackmail that they have on not just US leaders, on many global leaders. This is what Viktor Otrovsky said. Israel was formed by way of deception. This is not opinion, this is his book, a former Mossad agent, saying this himself. This is also what Ari Ben Menashe said, that this is the Israeli intelligence's MO, their motto, to blackmail in order to get what they want. Because they know that when you dig deep into what Zionism truly stands for, when you dig deep into what Israel is actually doing, actually today you don't even need to dig deep. All you have to do is go on social media, press a button, and see what is happening in Gaza. It has opened many eyes. But if you want to go even deeper, you see this is systematic, and this is how their foundation was laid in the first place, by way of deception. Not in our words, don't believe us, believe the Mossad themselves. And the issue is that if you say this out loud, if a Jewish person says this, he's a Jew hater, he's a self-hater. If a non-Jewish person says this, they're either anti-Semitic. Of course, that is just that they just throw that out. They have let that word hold no value at this point because of how often they throw it out to people who are absolutely not anti-Semitic. Or you are a Hamas propagandist, Russia-paid journalist, or a Qatar-funded journalist, or you're just crazy. But you're anything but right if you are criticizing Israel. At this point, if Israel would just come out and say that, you know what, you can't do anything about us. We will do whatever we want because we have way too much power and control. It would hurt, but it would be honest. Don't really retire this being gaslit at this point. And for journalists out there who are interviewing Israeli officials, should just say, whenever an Israeli official says that, listen, we can't do anything, Hamas uses human shields, all they need to do is just say, listen, the IDF uses human shields very regularly. In fact, it is a systematic procedure. It's called the Mosquito Procedure. Post the Second Intifada and pre the Second Intifada, it was called the Neighbour Procedure. Why not just say it? Just say it and be done with this double standard. Now, we at Far Media work overtime to understand the truth of these headlines, what goes behind these headlines, who funds them, what is their motivation. And in order to debunk these lies and the chaos that surrounds you, to confuse you with so much information, that, you know that phrase that if you say it enough, it becomes the truth? We're here to debunk that. Because the mainstream media says it so much that you think you know the truth, but it's not. So here's where independent media today is more important than ever. Here's why I respect journalists like Mehdi Hassan, even Candace Owens, who many people might say is conservative, this, that. In any case, she speaks the truth, and I respect the truth. Even Jeremy Diamond, who works for the CNN, who is a state-sponsored media channel, but still he has a morality, he has a moral compass. Independent media is more important today than ever because we're here to debunk the propaganda lies by the governments that are literally told through their mouthpieces that are so-called journalists on mainstream media. So please support Far Media World. And to support us, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Instagram. And most importantly, you can subscribe to our newsletter, which will give you in-depth investigations. And that is where we want everybody to come and discuss these deeper issues. And you can also go on the link in our bio on Instagram if you want to support us or donate to our cause if you believe in this mission of telling the truth, standing by the truth, and speaking up for the oppressed. Because it's not now, then when? What exactly are we waiting for after these 3 years of genocide? So thank you for watching Farm Media World. This is Decoded. I'm Fatma Zahour. I'm your host, and I'm very honored to have you here with me. See you next week.